What up, everybody? Mm. YouTube Live. This is yours truly, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Right now is Friday night, July 5th, 2019, and I just finished watching the latest episode of Jet. If you hear the kind of whirring sound in the background, it's because my fans, not fans, you guys, but the fans. Eh, Here's the thing: my apartment doesn't have air conditioning. So in the summer, it always gets really freaking hot, and I get sweaty. Sweatier than a monkey's armpit, man. It's just drenched in here. So that's why from this point forward, um, you'll not be seeing me as often anymore wearing my usual suit jacket because when I put on my suit jacket, that's not comfortable. I'll try to do it only for like with the reviews, with the jump cuts and whatnot. Mm. But for live stream, I'm just gonna go light like this one. Okay, let's get right to this. This is probably my favorite episode of this season one so far. It's season one, episode 4, titled Frank Sweeney. I'm not going to spend too much time in this, but I do have a few notes that I want to share with you regarding this episode. What happens tonight, in a nutshell, Jet Kowalski, played by the lead star, Carla Gugino, discovers where Blair is. Because remember, Blair double crossed her. He double crossed her in that heist that they did in that club. And that heist was for that Eastern European guy in Cuba, and I think two of the crew members, um, they're dead. The Eastern European guy says, like, "Hey, maybe they're in on it, so we have to kill them, get rid of them." Mm. And ever since then, Jet was trying to find Blair. Trying to hold him responsible, trying to steal back what Blair stole from them, um, the gold, the money, and whatnot. Turns out the person that Blair worked for, or I guess double agent kind of work for, is Frank Sweeney. Frank Sweeney is this other gangster. Okay, so if we want to keep track, want to keep count, there's Charlie, right, played by the guy who played Gus in Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito. And then you have the Eastern European guy. Let me get his name here. I'm not good with names, but I have the list on Milan Bestik. And then the third gangster revealed tonight is Frank Sweeney. And there's a flashback story about 10 years ago when Carla's character, she was called Daisy Kowalski, but Daisy Kowalski at the time, and Frank Sweeney was the one who gave her the nickname Jet. And in this flashback, we saw Frank Sweeney take Jet into his heist plan, and of course, in this scenario, that cop that has an affair with his partner, the black cop, the sexy black lady, he was an undercover in the Frank Sweeney um, organization. So he was part of the heist too, 10 years ago. So at the same time, other things going on as well in this episode, like Phoenix, that hot girl that helped that helped uh, that helped Jed um, uh, uh, put the fear of God in that nightclub owner. Remember that? Uh, they pretend as if they shot um, Phoenix in the graveyard. Um, and of course, last week we saw the backstory to the character Phoenix, how she met Jet in prison and whatnot. So in this one, Phoenix is in the middle tonight. Phoenix is in the middle of her prostituting gig, trying to please, I guess, one of the college frat boys having a birthday party in the hospital. So she wears this sexy nurse outfit, kind of like the ones you see a lot of girls wear during Halloween season. Um, so anyway, that gets interrupted because Jet needs her to babysit her daughter, who in this episode has trouble of her own, including nosebleed and whatnot. Um, and the other arc that happens is with regards to Charlie Jr. And we know that here's the thing. I would not describe Charlie Jr. as a loose cannon, but obviously he's spoiled. He's one of those guys who grew up, being the gangster son. So he's surrounded by yes men, and he gets everything his heart desires ever since he was a kid. So he thinks he's all that, and he thinks he's the shit. And he was responsible for that judge's death. The car that exploded. So in this episode, he encounters Carla's handler, the one that works for Milan Besti, the Eastern European guy. And so there's a bit of confrontation there between them. Um, as I was watching this episode, it hit me why I like this show. Um, it's because tonally, it tonally, it's like a mix of, it's like a cross between, it's like Martin Scorsese meets Steven Soderbergh meets Nicholas Winding Ren. Right, Martin Scorsese, of course, made a lot of gangster movies over the years, over his career. Um, Mean Streets, right? Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, The Departed. Um, so Scorsese and gangster or mobster movies, it's like one is synonymous with the other, vice versa. And Steven Soderbergh is known for his heist movies: Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, The Informant, and of course, many of his heist movies would incorporate some sort of a jazz lounge kind of music for the score. Um, and then Nicholas Winding Ren, this filmmaker. He gave us The Neon Demon, Only God Forgives. What else? What else? Well, he also dabbles with gangster shit as well in his movies, but his one of the characteristics in his movies, or one of his signature style, if you will, is the application, or that he utilizes neon drenched or neon lit environment. And that's what we see tonight in this episode. It's a combination of those three, and it's fantastic. Right? Where the Scorsese part kicks in when um, the Charlie Senior, Giancarlo Esposito's character, was beating up on that guy who tried to assassinate him. Well, to be accurate, he didn't get his hands dirty in this episode. But that whole thing, the guy tied up, and Charlie's about to like hit him with a golf club, and of course, his henchmen ended up like freaking torturing the guy that gets hung up. So that's like freaking Scorsese shit. That's something you would expect to see in a Scorsese movie. The Steven Soderbergh part comes in whenever the heist kicks in, just like the heist that Blair double crossed Jet in that one episode. But in this episode tonight, it's more the heist is more of a car. The heist is more of a Jet solo turn. It's mostly just Carla Gugino's character. There's no Jet and the crew or Jet and somebody else. It's a one man band in this episode. That's what I'm trying to say. And so yeah, it's fantastic though because it's the art of lying. Because she's really good as she's really good at being a thief. Jet is. Um, but in tonight's episode, we see him play all the parts of the crew, including a grifter, the role of the grifter. Um, and so yeah, that reminds me of this. Reminds me of any Soderbergh movie. And of course, the other one is Nicholas Winding Ren, especially the part in tonight's episode that involves Frank Sweeney when he first hired Jet. In the nightclub, you see these two naked ladies practicing or rehearsing, and then Jet and Frank Sweeney having a conversation, and you see the colors changing um, frequently from like red to blue to striking pink. It's fantastic. It's so what's the word I'm looking for here? It's so hypnotic. So that's why I like this show. I think creator, writer, producer, showrunner Sebastian Gutierrez is a big fan of those filmmakers that I mentioned to you, those three influences. And I'm glad that he draws inspiration from them because if you want to draw inspiration from any, you know, um, filmmakers, let it be those three. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the story tonight is just like, for those of you who've been following this season, I was a little bit shocked that I was a little bit shocked of what happened to Blair. I thought that Blair was gonna be um, the constant villain all the way through the last episode of the season, which is episode 8. But no, they killed him. They killed him off tonight, and Frank Sweeney apparently double crossed him. And and then at first I thought, oh my god, so now there's a third big mob boss that Jet has to juggle with because she's like trying to bring down both Charlie and um, the Eastern European guy Milan Bestic. Both guys are on her ass, and she's working with the cops. And so that is already complicated as it is. That's a lot of stuff full on her plate, and now you got to add in this next thing in the equation, Frank Sweeney. And so my first reaction was, holy crap. You're going to add him to the mix. This is going to be either interesting or overwhelming, or a bit too much, at least, especially for Jet. But that's not what happened either. What happened in tonight's episode is that Jet, because Frank Sweeney by this point is paralyzed. We never got to see how he got paralyzed. Whether or not it's like freaking Christopher Reeve fell off a horse, we don't know. But the scene was Jet, in the middle of the night, went to Frank Sweeney's room, took back the money and the gold from the heist, and of course Frank Sweeney caught her in the act. But of course Frank Sweeney, because he's paralyzed, he was not able to do jack shit. So and Frank Sweeney said, "Hey, I never told Blair to take a shot at you. I like you, Jet. So can you do me this one last favor? Um, can you kill me? Can you murder me? Can you put an end to my misery?" And so that's what happened. Jet does smother him with the pillow, which I gotta be honest with you, I was expecting the pillow thing, right? The pillow, that was predictable move on her part. So that's okay. I mean, the most silent way to kill somebody, especially in that setting. But I thought that she was gonna pull out a gun and kind of shoot right through the pillow, using the pillow as sort of a silencer. I've seen that done in movies. You've seen that done in movies as well. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know how effective a pillow is, as a silencer. Maybe it doesn't work that way, like in the movies. Maybe it'll still bang really, really loud. But I did expect a gun. But probably because I was so used to, you know, um, scenes of gangsters kind of shooting their gun or shooting the bullet through pillows to try to dampen the noise. But I've never tried it, so don't try it at home as well, kids. We don't know. All right, and we'll just leave it at that. Um, man, I like Phoenix. I really do. I think the actress who plays Phoenix, Katie Jensen, is so freaking hot. When she walks in the hospital hallway wearing that sexy nurse outfit, I was like, oh, damn, HO to the T. Um, she says last week's episode, she's like, "Hey, I'm the prostitute with a heart of gold," kind of like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. And she does have a heart of gold. She can babysit Jet's daughter, and she does a pretty good job at it. I'm gonna end with Jet. After 4 episodes, I find this character to be fascinating because as we've seen from the earlier episodes, she she is the kind of person who knows what she's doing because she's been doing it for a long time in this criminal business, crime business, I should say. Um, but she does have her blind spots. You know, of course, the person that she co-worked with in Cuba got shot in the head by Milan Bestic. So what I'm trying to say is that there are some things that I think she is a smart cookie, obviously, um, and to a certain extent, she does a pretty good job of considering all the moves. Like, if you're playing on a chessboard, like, oh, okay, if you make this move, how would you expect the opponent to counter that or retaliate to that move? I think she is the kind of person who takes all of that into consideration. Because she's a ringer, she's the planner, she's the mastermind. Whenever there's a heist, she's the one that gets hired to plan the whole thing out. Um, she's not the muscle, she's not the grifter, she's not the distractor, she's not the getaway car. You know what I'm saying? She's the George Clooney, like George Clooney in the Ocean's 11 movies. And but she does have a blind spot. She does. So that's the thing that makes her vulnerable. In this episode, though, she looks very calm the entire time. Um, Even as she is concerned about the safety of her daughter, um, she looks very composed. Um, Again, she knows what she's doing. She knows how. She knows that if she does A, it will lead to B. And so in tonight's episode, we don't see that blind spot or we don't see that vulnerability. But that vulnerability might might get the better of her again. We have four episodes left to go, so I don't think she will be as lucky as tonight is in all the episodes left, or all the remaining episodes, I should say. Um, so yeah, overall, just want to close by saying I'm so glad that this show exists. even though it's on Cinemax and probably not a lot of people are gonna get what to watch it, understandably so. But I have a soft spot for gangster mobster stories. I do. When I was in college, back before freaking social media, YouTube, and whatnot, at the dorm, what we did, with among us roommates in the dorm, we share movies when we have VHS or DVDs. We like, hey, can I borrow The Sopranos? I would say to my roommate, yeah, yeah, here you go, and he has this box sets of Sopranos, and for a week I would just binge watch it. And I will return it to him. No charge. We don't charge anybody. Each other. We don't charge each other anything, but that we're friends. So and so gangster movies are some of the things that I watched when I was in college a lot. Um, and so to have a show like this, like I said, that's sort of like a mix between Martin Scorsese, Steven Soderbergh, and Nicholas Winding Refn. It's fantastic. Um, the previous Cinemax show this past spring season was Warrior, and Warrior is sort of like gangster stuff too, right? The Tongs, the Chinese gangs in San Francisco in the 1800s. But that was a period piece sort of gangster. Um, it has its perks, but it's limited to just a few way of storytelling, mainly because of the era. Um, whereas something like this Jet, you know, um, not only there are guns involved, but um, the way the mobsters handle either the waitress or the guy who almost assassinated him, it's fantastic. It's brutal, and it's the kind of stuff that you see or you've seen in mafia movies growing up. There's something bloody and romanticized about that at the same time. That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm so glad Jet exists. It satisfied the mobster gangster fan in me, and yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. If you haven't watched the show, please give it a chance. It's on Cinemax every Friday night, starring one of my favorite actresses and one of the stars of Watchmen movie. That's Carla Gugino, the beautiful Carla Gugino, whom I've met twice, by the way. So she plays this thief named Jet Kowalski, and it's a long arc type of story. So you gotta watch from episode one to actually be able to catch up on what's happening, in specifically in this episode four. So yeah, give it a shot. Watch it on Cinemax every Friday night. It's Jet. And thanks so much for tuning in. Subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. I'll be back tomorrow with a couple of more reviews. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's rock this.